So hello and welcome to tonight's Zoom application support session with iCons. My name is Wesley Dunham. I'm Strategic Communication and Program Director for iCons. I handle the day-to-day operations, advising, course scheduling, public relations, all that type of stuff. So if you have any questions, you can certainly email me. You can email icons at icons@cns.umass.edu, and I will do my best to get you a timely answer and a complete answer. So again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. As you know, I am recording tonight's session, and that is because not everyone is able to attend tonight. And we want to make sure that all students, whether they are able to attend tonight or not, are able to hear what we're about to talk about, which is the application process for iCons. And we're hoping that we get a wide variety and diverse population of students to apply for iCons. And that is why we are recording tonight. So again, thank you very much. We have some wonderful people helping us out tonight. We have two staff members, Justin Furman and Scott Auerbach. In addition, we have our icon students, and they're going to do a brief intro with them, of themselves in 1 minute. And we also have a young alumna, Kiki Carey. She's, if you can wave, Kiki, all right. She is class of 2019. She was a chemistry major with a math minor. She was on the biomedical track when she was in icons. And she's currently a research associate at Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard in Cambridge. And so I thank you very much, Kiki. It's the first time I'm getting to meet you, so hello. I thank Kiki very much for joining us. She's also heavily involved, if not the leader, but I can't see iCons having one leader, of our ICANN network, which is our alumni network. So once you leave UMass, we still try to keep you informed, and the ICANN network does great things, and they try to help current students, and they're a wonderful resource. So again, thank you very much. So if I can now have our icon student facilitators just give us a little hello and tell us a little bit about yourselves, that'd be great. I'm going to start with Emily.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Emily. I use she, her pronouns. I am a sophomore physics major working on a chemistry minor, and I'm currently working towards the renewable energy track.
Thank you. If we can have Tristan.
Hi, I'm Tristan. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a senior chemistry major on the renewable energy track.
All right. Audrey.
Hi everyone, I'm Audrey. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a sophomore public health microbiome major studying pre-med, and I'm on the biomedicine track.
Wonderful. David Salucci.
Hi everyone, my name is David. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a senior on the psychology major on the neuroscience track, and I'm also on the biomed track.
Wonderful. Rashad.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the loud rain sounds. If you can hear them, I feel like I almost have to shout over them. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a junior studying biology, and I'm on the biomedicine track.
Wonderful. And David Abraham.
Hi, guys. I'm David. I am a microbiology and Spanish double major. I'm a junior. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm on the biomedicine track.
Wonderful. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Scott Auerbach. He is the Mahoney Family Executive Director and a co-founder of the iCons program. So take it away, Scott.
Thank you, everybody. And I just want to thank everybody, iCon students, alum, that's Kiki, and all you students, the prospective applicants for your time tonight. Tonight is a really important event because it's you students are the lifeblood of iCons, in the sense that we kind of view that human diversity in iCons can be a problem-solving tool. And here's my cat. I'm getting on my soapbox, so there's my cat. Seems to want dinner. So the idea is it's, so you're supposed to take me seriously right now, but you can also laugh at me with my cat. Human diversity is a problem-solving tool. That's the basic idea with iCons. If only we could learn how to unleash that tool with advanced communication and collaboration skills. So that all sounds great, but what we need is human diversity to be able to come and apply to iCons. So we need the most diverse possible group of students to be able to come and feel confident in applying to iCons. And that idea of feeling confident, so 2 steps. One is actually taking the step of actively applying and feeling confident in that process. It's in the past, we've just assumed that students will apply. But this is the first year that we're doing this, because what we want to do is we want to actually roll out the red carpet to every single student who might consider applying. There are some students who are on the fence. They'd like to be in iCons, but maybe they're not sure if they can be or they belong. And we want to send the message that for every student who's interested in iCons, you belong, you can apply, and we want to provide you with the support to make that happen. At the end of the process, we want iCons to be the most diverse, equitable, and inclusive program, and that starts with tonight. So thank you.
Justin and Kiki.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. I'm Justin Furman. I'm the instructor in the iCons 1 course, or an instructor in the iCons 1 course, which is sort of the launch pad for the progress through the iCons program. And so it's the first place you'll land as a student in the program. And I just want to echo some of the things that Scott said, that we're looking for a group of students who's going to create a learning environment in iCons 1 that's enthusiastic, that's supportive, that's talented, but also ambitious, that also respects human diversity and knows and is willing to learn how to leverage that in service to real societal problems. And so we're here to welcome you to the application process and encourage you and help you overcome any of the hurdles that you might see toward applying to the program.
Yeah, I can just say welcome. This is, I think, probably one of the most important first steps towards kind of joining the iCons family. I can say that I thought it was an incredible experience during undergrad, and it's definitely shaped the scientist and then also employee that I am today. About the application, I think most has been said. Just we want to get to know you. We want to know how you've kind of tackled the past however many years you would consider yourself a scientist, and then all the years you would consider yourself a human. So just tell us who you are, how you think, what makes you tick, and that's, I think, what we're most interested in seeing.
So I actually have a couple other questions that I want to pose to Scott and to Kiki before we get going, because I think that sort of establishing the framework for this is really important. Like, what's the context behind what we're doing? And so, Scott, if you would be willing to speak just for a minute or two about why there is an application process to iCons in the first place.
That's a good question. Justin is putting me on the spot. We ask students to apply to iCons because there's actually a few different reasons. One of which is that, to be honest, iCons is a different way of learning science. It's certainly different from probably, I mean, some of you may have had some non-traditional science experiences in the past, but iCons is definitely a non-traditional science experience. Non-traditional because it doesn't start with like the definition of a cell or the periodic table or all of the forces. It starts with opening up the newspaper and finding what's a big problem that's happening right now that we are hot and bothered about solving. So that's the first thing. And so, to be perfectly honest, it's probably not a good fit for everybody. And so we want to find people for whom this is a good fit. And so that's why we need to learn a little bit about you, a little bit about your interests, a little bit about how icons could fit into your world. And so that's one of the main reasons. I hope I got that right. Justin, did I get
Yeah,
that
no,
right?
that's what I was hoping to hear. A rationale for why
We
icons.
didn't practice that, by the way.
I know, but I know Scott well enough to know that's exactly the kind of question he likes to extemporize on. And it's important to realize that we don't always practice. And one of the things that makes for a good icons instructor, but also makes for a good icons student, is the ability to think, the ability to respond, and the ability to have a thoughtful answer to a thoughtful question. And so, Kiki, a question I want to ask you, since you're an alum of the program, a laureate graduate of icons, and
Wow.
now I know, don't blush. How do you see your role, or what's the role of the admissions committee? Because I'm not on the admissions committee. I don't make decisions about who gets in the program. Scott's not on the admissions committee. Why do we bring together a group of people from outside the program who are allies, friends, graduates, corporate partners to make decisions about who gets into the program?
I think some of this I'm going to send back towards you, because I'm curious why you have removed yourself from some of the committee, although you are involved in some of it. So I'm not totally sure where you're delineating like the committee versus like that chat we all have once we finally have had some talk about it. But I think it's important to have diversity of thought going into what is the program and what does the program become, because while this was your and Scott's baby, it's grown beyond you too. And I think creating a diverse group of thought from people who have gone through the program like myself, or people who have benefited by the program by receiving interns or employees from the industry side, as well as professors who have seen their students grow in this program and then excel in their courses later on. I think getting input from all of those places for not only what does the program become, but then also who do we want to see in the program and who do we see bringing this program to its next level. I think that's why that committee is so, you have that diversity of thought there. Because I think one of the cooler things about icons is that if you want to make something happen, you can make it happen. There are a lot of times where I'm like, hey, Scott, Justin, I think this thing would be cool. Like, what if we did this thing? And they're like, okay, go for it. What resources do you need? Do you need a room? When rooms were things. What do you need? We got some money? Do you need some money? Let's do it. Go for it. And I think that's incredibly cool. So creating an environment that encourages us to have that kind of say in how the program is faced, and then seeing students that are also having that excitement is, I think, important to the continuation of the program.
Thank you. That's awesome. And so the reason, well, let me throw this out to everybody. Why do you think I pose questions like that at the opening of a session on the application process to icons? What do I hope that you take away from hearing us talk in an impromptu way about why we have an application and why we structure the process the way that we do?
I will say, feel free to use the chat too. I know speaking out in these situations.
I see a hand up.
Yeah.
I think I saw it was a Matthew. It just flashed across my screen. If that was a hand up.
Yeah, that's me.
Please do, Matthew.
I'm guessing you structured the applicant process like this so we get a sense of what the actual icons courses are going to be like. So if it feels very formal here, you're probably going to get a lot of people who are expecting come in very formal, like, you know, in suits and ties, which is not what icons is. That's just what I'm getting from it.
Perfectly reasonable. What else are you getting from somebody else? What else do you derive from the discussion and the way that we interact with each other and the questions we ask?
I feel like based on the discussions that
people are having with each other. I feel like this is icons is basically creating a safe space for people to express their own opinions and thoughts and to develop beyond what they actually know and everything. Also, an application, how you guys asked the question, what do you think is a major problem in our world today, and how do you think the scientists and engineers might be able to help with this issue? I felt like prior to joining the program, you guys are already asking us to think in a way that is fitted for the icons program.
Awesome. And I see a few other things scrolling through the chat window. Elise, about our ability to speak passionately about the program, communicates a sense of excitement. Jack says something about a sense that the application process isn't something to stress about, and we do hope that we're alleviating some of the anxiety you might feel. The discussion is collaborative, and yes, that's certainly representative of the way that we work in icons. It isn't a top-down program. And a lot of these ideas resonate really strongly with the sense that we're trying to communicate through having sessions and structuring our sessions like this. But I'm monopolizing time right now, and I want to transfer the ownership of that time back to you so that you get your questions answered. I presume that you came here with questions, and I've created a bunch of breakout rooms, and in each breakout room, there's one current icon student, and that icon student is more than happy to spend some time talking with you about the questions that you have, maybe the barriers that you perceive, the concerns that you have about the application process, whether those are technical questions or philosophical questions. Please feel free to bring them up. And I'm also going to charge you with one task while you're in your breakout rooms. So we'll go away. I have 7:25 here. We'll go away for 20 minutes. When you come back, I'm going to ask a representative from every room, doesn't matter who it is, but one person from every room, so make note of the breakout room you're in, to tell the rest of us the most important question you decided as a group, that you decide as a group what is the most important question you discussed, to bring back to the whole group so that we all benefit from the discussions that you had. Everybody got it?
Justin, can I stop you there?
Yeah.
So we might ask you, because it could be that two rooms end up with the same important question. So maybe it might be good if you had like a backup.
Yeah, might have one in your back pocket there.
Right. And then just so you know, the rationale behind this is that it's always easier to sort of bare your soul in a small group as opposed to a big group. But at the same time, from an equity and inclusion standpoint, it's important that every student who's present here and every student who listens to this recording can benefit from the insights that are gained. And so that's why we ask you to go into the small breakout room, because it's a little bit more comfy. But we ask you to come back and share your thoughts, because everybody needs to benefit. And that's what makes it an equitable process.
All right. So we'll see you in 20 minutes.
Nice.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a productive discussion and found some interesting things to talk about, and maybe got some of your questions answered. As a way to transition back into this, because Kiki is here and wearing capable of wearing a couple different hats, both as an alum of the program and a member of the admissions committee, but also as someone who had to apply to the icons program back in the day. I won't put you on the spot with an age.
Many years ago.
So many years ago.
It's not that long ago.
I was going to ask you, Kiki, to transition into this part of our discussion, if you're willing to share maybe one or two of the concerns or questions that you had when you were applying to the program so many years ago.
Yeah, so I remember what's tough about the application process for this program is it comes typically when you're a freshman, although I know we probably have some sophomores on board, but when you're just starting, you don't know what college is, let alone what you want to get out of it. You're just kind of there and being like, oh, I'm not living at home anymore. I'm on my own. But then in this year, it's even weirder. You don't really know what college looks like on the internet. It looks very strange. I understand. I luckily didn't have to do this. So extra empathy to you guys that this is happening right now. But still, you're still figuring college out and yourself out. So I think my biggest thing was, am I going to be able to handle this in normal college workload? And is this the right fit for me? And I think with point one, I think it is something to consider, but iCons is really willing to work with you to make it fit in your normal course schedule. I think it's very well laid out on the website that this is meant to fit in as an asset to your normal course load rather than a burden. And to be honest, it's been the thing that I've talked about most in internship applications as well as job applications. And now, even as I'm applying to grad school this year, iCons will come up, and that's, I think, something rare to say. So I would say in terms of the cost benefit analysis in your head of like, what's worth my time, this is worth your time. And I think if it's given is it a good fit for you? I think that is sometimes where, not my favorite term, but I think it's most used, the imposter syndrome kind of sets in of like, is this something that I can bring to the table here? And I think the answer is yes. I mean, we need some fresh perspectives, and we need different perspectives than we have. And as long as you're willing and open to what iCons is as a whole, I think it's worth the application. That's kind of where I was at. I was lucky enough to kind of hear the pitch multiple times in multiple of my classes, and I'm like, oh, that was cool, like maybe next year. And then the second time I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I should really go to a thing like this. And then when I got to it, I was like, oh, I'm applying to this. This is great. Like, sign me up. I'm in. But it took a couple times, and I think part of that was just kind of getting into the like, yes, you have time for this. Yes, you're able to help in this area, and yes, this is something you should do. So.
Thanks. That's awesome. I imagine that echoes some of the concerns that others of you have, and maybe Kiki's thoughts on that and personal reflection kind of help put some of your own feelings in perspective. But we're here because we want to hear from you. So I'm gonna go. I just looked through my list of breakout rooms. It turns out there's no room 7. I have no idea why, but we have rooms 1 through 6 and 8. So let's start at the bottom of that. Let's start with, if you were in room 8, please, whoever you decided, share with us perhaps one of the important things that you talked about so that we can all benefit.
Yeah, so I'll share for group 8. We talked about 2 main things. One about if we're looking into the iCons program, but we don't really know what we're going to do, if we don't really have a clear idea in mind of where we want to go with the iCons program, or even what we want to do with our majors, what should we do in this situation? Is it still a good idea to apply? And the second thing we were looking at was specifically for that last question on the application, regarding a societal challenge. We were also looking into what if we're trying to consider some ethical challenges as well? Would those still be appropriate to discuss on the form?
Excellent.
Can I take the first one?
Scott, would you like to address that?
I'd love to take the first half of that,
Please
and
do.
then anybody can answer the second half. I think if you don't know what you're doing, that's fine. None of us do. 1. 2, I think it's a great place to start. iCons has a really great opportunity to expose you to a bunch of different things in a very short period of time. And they bring in people from outside, so that we had a couple really great talks on, I believe, just like Infectious disease sounds like one of them. We did a case study on Zika in my freshman year when Zika was happening. So it made me think like, oh, this is an interesting way to apply my mathematical brain to a science concept, and that kind of got my brains rolling there. Bringing in professors from interesting schools, being like, oh, like look at that research being done in academia. Maybe that's something really interesting. Or bringing in people from industry, being like, oh, this is how the industrial perspective is happening in multiple different fields. So I think if you don't know what you want to do with your major, as long as hard science is something that you are interested in, because that I think is very key to the program, go wild. I think this would be a great place for you to start to figure it out. Yeah, I think that's the most important. And the second part, I think ethical question, I'd say go for it, personally.
Yeah, could you say that again? I mean, I'm happy to answer that, but I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question. So could you?
Yeah, so the question was on the third question in the actual application. Regarding the describe a societal challenge. We were also discussing like, what if this was an ethical challenge? Or what if the solution we have isn't entirely scientific?
Yeah.
Is that still something that we can write about?
That is so something that you can write about, because one of the take-home messages from iCons is that no real solution is entirely a technological solution. There has to be some aspect of the humanities, because at the end of the day, it's humans who are experiencing problems, and we need to understand the human perspective, the social sciences. Oftentimes business is important for solving problems. And one of the things that Justin and his team at iCons 1 spends a lot of time on is looking at a societal problem and then looking at the various aspects of it. What part of this is in technology? What's a different part that's outside of technology? And one of the things that's special about iCons is it is it's a STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math focused program where you're looking at real world problems. So you're looking at problems through the lens of a deep technical perspective while connecting that to everything else that's important, to the economics, to the ethics, to the social, to the racial, inequity aspect of problems. So the bottom line is no human problem is entirely rooted in technology, but most human problems, there is a role for technology to play a role. And for you to talk about how problems are connected to things outside of technology means that you have a broad lens. And so those are some of the kind of things that can be very powerful.
Would someone from Breakout Room 6 like to share an important topic that you discussed?
I guess I'll go. We didn't actually get to assigning a spokesperson for our group because we were actually, our discussion, we were talking about what inspired us. Our group leader asked us this question, so that kind of, went to the limit of time. But one of the group members, I'm just going to share this because I think it's an important question. She's a sophomore and she's applying to the program now. And she was wondering whether she would be taking iCons 1 or would she have to go directly into iCons 2 and then go from there?
I'd be happy to address that. That's a technical question about flow through the program. Everybody who comes to iCons begins iCons with the first course in the sequence in iCons 1. And so if you're admitted to the program, next spring you'll enroll in a course called Global Challenges, Scientific Solutions, that it's not focused on one or the other of the tracks, but is focused on real world problems, and that derive from the choices that you as an entering class make in your orientation session. You get to pick the topics and the challenges that we work on. If you enter iCons as a sophomore, you will likely take iCons 2 and 3 concurrently in the spring of your junior year. That's the typical way to navigate iCons as a 4-course program over the course of 3 years. All right. So let's hear from somebody from breakout room 5, an important topic that you discussed in that space.
That was our room, in case we didn't note down the number. If one of you wanted to speak.
Okay, so we asked Tristan about the culture of that like he's experienced in icons and kind of the relationships he's made.
And what did you hear about the culture in icons?
Yeah, I guess that's not really an open-ended question to anybody, but we heard that just because everybody there is so passionate about what they're doing, it's just a really positive experience, and it's a really good experience. We were also talking about how, like, we were all freshmen, and we were talking about what we kind of wanted to do and why icons would be, like, why we're interested in icons, and we're all in different majors. We all had different, like, goals and stuff, but we were talking about how, and just learning from each other in that just 10 minutes of talking, shows how you get so many different perspectives, and that was like a big part of why the relationships are so good, because you just can build off of each other and learn new things and find things you didn't even know were like possibilities.
That's awesome. That's sharing something that isn't just a question, but is also something that you learn through discussing. So I thank you for that. I appreciate it. Would somebody from breakout room 4 also step forth and give us something that you discussed and gained in your discussion?
So an important question from my breakout room was kind of relating to the first question on the application that asks about what experiences or like personal characteristics you have that would like make you prepared for icons. And we were kind of wondering if that necessarily has to be related to one of the icons courses, or tracks, or like a science at all, really. If it can just be like an experience you have that you think makes you unique.
Cool.
I can take that one. I think
Since you read the application, maybe.
Yeah, I think we want to see what jumped out at you. You guys found this program, RSVP'd to this Zoom for a reason. And it might have been like, oh, I didn't know exactly what part of the application that I wanted to understand more and stuff like that. But also, what about icons jumped out at you? What excites you? And why does that excite you? And I bet there's something from your experience, scientific or non. I think that's not super important to us, but like, what about your past do you think has kind of shaped your experience to be like, oh, this would add to my experience in college and then just also as a person? We want to hear that piece and that kind of thought process you're having. And that can take a second. Scott told me a couple times to just go and soul search, sit in a dark room and just think about things. You might have to do that for a couple minutes. And it's some of the best advice he's ever given me. And it's hard as hell, but it's great advice. And I think that's something, think about it. Think why this program, and then why you for this program based on what excited you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I forget what that was. Was that just breakout room 4? So 3 more to go? Can we hear from breakout room 3?
Yes, so both our initial and our backup question were already kind of touched upon, but to another question that we thought was really good that we spoke about was in regards to the third question on the application and what constitutes a large group in society, and as well as we spoke about what the ideal icon student looks like, and how there's no like cookie cutter icon student. There's no specific icon student. So
That is absolutely true. There is the thing that makes icons work. Icons would be a failure of a program if there was such a thing as a cookie cutter icon student, because we would lack the diversity of perspectives that we need. If everybody brought the same point of view, if everybody brought the same personal background, if everybody brought the same socioeconomic status or generation college student or anything, if everybody had something similar about them, we would fail to explore all the abilities that we need to look at when we're trying to solve really, really challenging problems. And so that second part, I think you put your finger on the single most important part of bringing together a group of students and into the icons program, is that it's not a cookie cutter approach. We don't have criteria. We don't have set boundaries around who we're looking for. We're looking for you. Would somebody from breakout room 2 like to bring something to this?
I was in breakout room 2, and we kind of were finishing this discussion up right as the breakout room started to close. And so we were talking about how if you weren't always someone who had like you weren't always inclined to be passionate about science, it was kind of more of a recent thing, and how you as a developing scientist, a developing student, a developing person could, I guess in the context of question 2 on the application, what you're doing in 10 years. And for myself at least, I know it will hopefully be science related, but if you're still developing in, you know, what you want to do, how would you answer that, I guess?
Yeah, can I take that one?
I think so.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Anna, for that question, and thank you for room 2. That's a great question. I feel like I myself was a late add to science. I didn't really realize I love science until kind of late in my high school experience. And my whole career track actually changed. I wanted to be a sports medicine doctor. I wanted to be the sideline doctor for the New York Giants. I'm sorry, I'm a Giants fan. And that totally changed. And so the point is, what you write about what you're thinking about, what you might want to do in 10 years from now, we promise we're not going to hold you to that. Because if you asked me to write that at this stage, I'd be totally wrong. I wouldn't have said, I want to be the executive director of the icons program. I wouldn't have written that. So what we're asking for you to do is to practice this thing called, just practice looking into the future. We certainly can't do that for you. You're the only person who can give that a shot. And at the end of the day, we're asking you to imagine environments that you might find yourself in. I mean, and maybe it relates to science, maybe it doesn't. For example, there's an icon student who's a lawyer now. I don't know, this is Dana Brown. I don't know if she knew she wanted to become a lawyer. So the point is that we're not going to hold you accountable for what you write. This is your opportunity just to kind of brainstorm. And at the end of the day, question 2 is a chance for you to imagine kind of problems that you might like to solve in the world, the kind of problems you might like to solve within the icons program. Okay, so that was the kind of a loosey-goosey answer. But I think that gives you a sense in where we're just trying, you know, I don't know if any of you ever watched Star Trek with Mr. Spock and the Vulcan mind meld, but with these applications, we're trying to do like a Vulcan mind meld with you. We're just trying to sort of, how does their mind work and how do they think and what do they want to do? And so because we're not Vulcan, we have to ask you to write these 250 words.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
And so let's wrap up our discussion by inviting anybody from breakout room 1 to offer something different that you talked about.
Hello, so my name is Sebastian. I'm from breakout 1. So one of the questions we discussed was, does it matter which track you choose as it relates to your major?
I would like to tackle that one too.
It's all you, Scott.
I think all three of us were like,
yeah, we're like, I want that one.
So I would like to share with you my zany worldview. And my zany worldview is that every single, I don't know how many majors we have at UMass. We probably have about 100 of them.
Oh.
So we have about 100 majors. And I would claim that regardless of the problem, every single major, so the mindset, the skill set, the lens that you learn with which to see the world can have an impact on every single problem. So on the one hand, there are the kinds of problems that you want to solve, and then there are kind of skill sets or sort of habits of mind that you want to build through your major. Like if I'm a physics major, I like to think about the interactions between things. If I'm a chemistry major, I like to think about the building blocks of the world. If I'm a biology major, I like to think about the regulatory systems that control life. If I'm an engineer, I like to, design stuff. And of course, there are 7 different, engineering majors. So we have 30 different majors in STEM. Each of them can be, in principle, used to address any problem. So you now have this wonderful double choice of you pick a major, you pick a track, and it's totally your choice. There's no like preconceived correct correlation between major and track. It's totally up to you.
And in fact, that's a feature, not a bug of the program. One of your responsibilities as an icon student is to identify the ways that, like Scott said, your skills and your habits of mind could be applied to any problem. Move you to work on it. We built it to work that way.
And I think that's a life thing too. So for me personally, I was a chemistry major. I love looking at the building blocks of things, just like Scott said. It's my jam. But I work in biological problems now. I'm more and programs that I'm applying to for grad school, because that's what I'm thinking about right now, are all chemical biology programs. So looking at biological problems, biological systems. And sure, I've had to do a little bit more content review on just like what a T cell is that I may not have done if I was a biology major. But that mindset, that chemical mindset, has something that that's the way I like to think, but it can be applied in many ways. So I think that's applicable to life. So the major you'll have, I think, will just lend to how you think, not what you're passionate about in some ways. So.
All right, so I am mindful of the time, and we are over the time that we scheduled for this, and so I want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to be respectful of Wesley's time, Scott and Kiki's time as well. And so I feel like we ought to wrap up. I really appreciate you taking
thing that we need to tell everybody, Justin.
Right, and so I was going to go ahead.
So about the alumni step, the interview step.
So when you apply, your application will be received and it will be read by a group of people, including Kiki. But shortly after it's received, you may also receive a call and likely to receive some contact from an iCons alum who is not on the committee, but is going to want to speak with you for a little bit and offer you a chance to interview somebody, have a mutual interview with somebody who has been through the program. It's a chance for you to hear from them about their experiences and ask them questions, but it's also a chance for them to ask you questions about your interest in the program, why you're here. And so just expect that to be a step in the application process as well. And we consider all of the information that we get when we look at applicants. And Scott, I think you maybe wanted to add one more thought to that.
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know that we will, so there's a couple questions that we ask the alums to ask you, and we will let you know in advance what those are. Because it's a very different vibe about you have time and space to write out your answers to the questions versus you're going to have a phone call. So we're going to make sure to let you know what are the questions that you're likely to get in that phone call, so you feel like you can be prepared.
All right, thanks. Any other things that anybody would like to bring up at the end?
I had a question.
Please do.
So I have no idea if I want to do the biomedical track or the renewable energy. So I'm wondering, will we get a taste of both, and will we be able to switch or decide later on?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
So there's room in the program for people to switch tracks. And in iCons 1, you're not separated by track anyway. So everybody who joins the iCons program takes iCons 1 in one group, 60 or so students. And we just work on real problems. And we're not separating them based on biomedicine or energy or physical science or engineering or life science or anything like that. They're, like the Pacific garbage patch. What are we going to do? Right? So in that, you may find a biomedical theme for your skills too. In that, you may find a renewable energy theme or approach that makes sense. And you have an opportunity on iCons 1 to work in any direction that you choose.
Thank you.
And then if I can just add to that, thank you, Cleo, for that question. If I can just add to that. So we do ask you to self-identify when you apply. So we ask you, part of the application is to check the box. And the reason why we want to do that is we want to get a somewhat balanced group, because if we just made it like totally open, we could end up with, say, out of the 60, when they go into iCons 2 splits into the biomedicine section and the energy section. So if we just let it be totally open, we could end up with, say, hypothetically, 55 students in one and 5 students in the other. And from like a academic balancing, that wouldn't work, because there are certain limits on the size of these classes because of the honors college and writing and all that kind of stuff that we have to worry about. So the reason why we ask you to self-identify in advance is there are a lot of people who actually do know what they want to study, and that helps us to kind of balance it. So at the end of iCons 1 and the beginning of iCons 2 is when, in a sense, you can view it like you actually make the choice. So what that means is you have time, but at the same time, we do ask you to self-identify when you apply where at this point in time you think you are likely to land. I hope that helped.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Cleo.
All right, so thank you again. I hope this was helpful. I hope that some of your concerns and your questions got answered. And I hope that you understand that this is not the end of the help that we can offer you. If you have any other questions, if you'd like to reach out to the student who is in the room, or if you'd like to reach out to me or Scott or Wesley, we're happy to speak with you further and help clear up any points of confusion. People are now starting to put their emails into the chat room, so if you'd like to take note of any of the contact information that's there, please do. And please feel free to reach out to these people who are more than happy to help you think about your decisions that you're making as you consider applying to iCons. We want you to apply, we want to hear from you, and we want you here in the spring. So with that, I'll end tonight's program. I'll say welcome again, And I hope everybody benefited and has a great night.
Have a great night, folks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Thank you.